The Black Friday event, now with more incredible deals added at appliancesdelivered.ie.
Mommy, Daddy, get up! We're going to the park, remember?
Daddy isn't feeling very well.
Mommy isn't either.
Not again.
Why don't you go watch some cartoons? We'll be down in a minute.
Okay.
God, it was great crack, but it's so not worth it.
Yeah, definitely drinking less next time.
Alcohol can affect your mood and your energy levels. Drink less and you'll have more time to spend with those you love. Find out more at askaboutalcohol.ie from the HSE.
Black Friday deals are now live at littlewoodsIreland.ie. There are thousands of discounts across fashion, electricals, homeware and more, with free delivery and free returns on all orders. Shop today at littlewoodsIreland.ie. Free returns are through Parcel Connect or Parcel Motel. Terms and conditions apply. See online for further details.
The Carphone Warehouse Black Tag event is back with 10 days of Black Friday prices. Get an incredible deal on the latest Samsung S9 with free Samsung Tab A 10-inch tablet and Google Home Mini. Only €99.99 on a €40 a month plan. When you switch to Vodafone, Ireland's #1 network, but only with Carphone Warehouse, the home of the networks. Get expert advice and amazing Black Friday deals. Any network, any phone, any plan. Only Carphone Warehouse. T's and C's apply. Offer subject to a 24-month contract.
Yes, it's getting colder and darker, but the Aer Lingus Happy Winter deals are here. Why not escape the winter gloom with a visit to one of our European city and sun destinations, such as Toulouse, Bordeaux or Santiago de Compostela. Flights to Europe start at just $29.99 one way, including taxes and charges. So you can swap winter chills for holiday thrills with a great value getaway. Smart books now and looks forward to a happy winter. Smart flies Aer Lingus. Book now at airlingus.com. Offer subject to conditions and availability.
Finally, I thought that last ad would never end. The thing is, I'm done with waiting. Why should you have to wait for anything in this on-demand world of ours, especially the really good stuff, like the new Skoda Kodiaq? So if your family demands more space and style from their SUV, 7 seats, anyone? Why wait? The new Skoda Kodiaq, ready and waiting at your local Skoda dealer, along with some clever ways to help you pay. Skoda. Simply clever.
On 106 to 108 FM and at newstalk.com. This is News Talk.
Good afternoon, I'm Tina Gates. The Health Minister has been assured steps are being taken to prevent further errors in patient results for cancer gene tests at a Dublin hospital. It comes after reports that a woman who was tested for the BRCA1 gene at Crumlin Children's Hospital in 2009 was given a negative result at the time. Her doctors were informed last month she actually tested positive, and the woman is now being treated for ovarian cancer. The Social Democrats' Roisin Shortall wants a review.
I'm calling on the Minister for Health to ensure that there is a review of all of those other cases to ensure that we have accuracy. And I also think that it's important that the Minister for Health tells us what happened after the 2014 review of this service.
The man in charge of implementing abortion services here says he's confident they'll be available in Ireland by the beginning of next year. Dr. Peter Boylan feels the January timeline set by the Health Minister Simon Harris can be met. Next weekend marks 6 months since Ireland voted to repeal the 8th Amendment. The European Commission says they're ready to meet Theresa May as long as progress has been made on future relationships. The British Prime Minister could travel to Brussels to meet Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker as soon as tomorrow, but she'll go with uncertainty over the state of her leadership and whether enough MPs have called for a vote of no confidence. And tributes have been flooding social media today following the death of legendary GAA commentator, referee and broadcaster Wishi Fogarty at the age of 77. He was the voice of Radio Kerry's Terrace Talk and was inducted into the McNamee Awards Hall of Fame in 2016. Independent TD for Kerry, Michael Healy-Rae, says the county is devastated at the passing of a legend.
Wishi has been a part of our lives for decades now. He was the voice of Kerry. He was the voice of Radio Kerry. He was the voice of the GAA. He was the voice of everything that was and is good about the county of Kerry.
That's it for now. We'll have more in an hour.
News Talk Weather.
Thanks to Des Kelly Interiors. Supplying and fitting your new carpet or wood flooring in time for Christmas. DesKelly.ie.
Dry and sunny in most places this afternoon and evening. Top temperatures of 10 to 13 degrees. Now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Now you're very welcome back. So we're turning to rugby for this hour, joined in studio by the terrible twosome, Mal O'Kelly and Andy Dunne. You're both very welcome. How you doing, lads?
Twosome now.
You're double act now at this stage. There's a few Sundays you've been in. So we're talking about, obviously, Ireland 16, New Zealand 9. Where do you start? How confident were both of you before kick-off, I wonder?
The way I was kind of taking it was, you know, this isn't about who actually wins this match. It's all about, can Ireland, where are we, you know, and can Ireland perform, and can Ireland play their game against, you know, the best team in the world. You know, did I think that Ireland would be able to stop New Zealand playing this kind of which seems like an off-the-cuff game, this amazing kind of guys running lines, you know, this unstoppable New Zealand style play? No, I didn't think they would. I thought we would probably narrowly lose, but I just wanted to see, could we do what we do against them? And as it turned out, we certainly did.
I'll get my trumpet out because I called we would win. I wasn't that confident, though, if you're asking how confident I was. Yeah. I suppose it was probably at the time thinking, going with my heart over my head. But sure. It transpired to be very, very different. While it was fueled with emotion, it was completely strategic as well, and it was incredibly aggressive. And it wasn't a case of New Zealand had an off day. Like, they didn't play well, but they were not allowed. It was so compelling to watch. They were driven to failure by the Irish side. It was not a case of we just didn't show up.
Yeah, I was at the match, and then I watched it again, and when I was watching the match live, you know, I kind of felt, geez, New Zealand really aren't in this game, you know. But then when you watch the second time around, you could actually see that they played well. Yeah, you know, they played well, and you know, on a different day, maybe, you know, it could have been a different result.
So when you say they play well, what kind of things were they doing?
Like, their continuity is quite good. I felt, though, we pressurised a lot of their mistakes. Yeah. They did make a lot of mistakes, which is uncharacteristic, and that was the difference. New Zealand normally don't make those mistakes, or if they do, they can kind of get away with it. You know, whereas any mistakes we made, we seem to get away with them. Like, we made a couple of mistakes in mauls and stuff like that, but we were just so determined, you know, that it...
But to watch from... I was up in the press box, and you've got a pretty nice view from there. Yeah. To watch one of the core principles of their game is keeping the width across the field. They use the full 70 metres almost all the time in attack. So if you're talking 3 guys are in a ruck, maybe on the floor, and a 9, that leaves 11 players to fill 70 metres, and there's a huge amount of space in between players. And it's very striking to see on the field because very few teams do it. But as the game developed, and it's probably the first time I've seen the All Blacks from that position, they became more narrow and more narrow. And at one stage, you know, I suppose they very much resembled what you might call a normal team or an everyday team.
Because the phrase was used afterwards in the TV, I can't remember who it was, but it was a very tight game. And that was obviously a game that Ireland wanted. They wanted a tight game. They didn't want the whole thing stretched out. Why would you?
I mean, if they've got guys like, we talked about, like someone like Dane Cole sitting on the bench. Yeah. The reason New Zealand go and win games is because guys like that, as a hooker, can throw a pass on the run, that 6-7 metre space, and fix a defender. Yeah. And if you defend narrow against that, they'll go around you because their passing is so good. And if you spread out in defence, they go through you and they offload. We managed to combat both of those so effectively by, I think, our tackling actually and our defence.
Our tackling, but our line speed, speed with, you know, like, I think Ringrose is making some unbelievable reads. You know, I think he's really come of age.
There was a big hit in the first 5 minutes, actually. New Zealand were in the Irish 22 and Ringrose made a fantastic hit, and ultimately there was a turnover. It was a penalty. And it felt like a really big symbolic moment. First 5 minutes, a sense that, okay, we haven't been beaten here, because to concede a try in the first 5, 6, 7 minutes is obviously a bad thing. So you guys are talking about this managing to quell their lack of width. So it's the defence shooting up and making reads and making hits that does it ultimately, is it?
It can be incredibly dangerous to do that as well, because it requires big reads. Because if you overplay and you come up hard and you can get caught in no man's land, and then someone like Damien McKenzie can make an absolute fool of you.
So
you know,
true,
you know, like the risk is high, but the payoff is huge.
They seem to be caught out very few times, Ireland, in that way.
I can't. You know, you'd have to go over it again to see if I can't remember one. Yeah. But you know, there might have been maybe one or two. I think New Zealand had, like in the second half, and they had a lot more breaks than I can remember. Than I remember is when I was watching the second time round.
Defensively, though, the line speed is. It is a risk, but you know that there's the old cliche. You've got the heart in the furnace and the head in the fridge.
Yeah.
Like, it was by design that they were primed very early on. They started the game. Really pressurising us and squeezing us in our own 22 for multiple phases, and even that close to the line, we never looked like conceding. I don't think in that 7-8 minute period, and we turned them over for a penalty, and it set the tone. But it gave the group confidence, I think, to hold them out in that first 5 to 7 minutes. But that mix of coming so hard off the line defensively, I suppose, coupled with making such clinical one-on-one tackles where they put the Kiwi guys on the floor, and one-on-one tackles, that doesn't happen a huge amount against the All Blacks.
Yeah.
If a one-on-one situation transpires, they can stay on their feet, get their hands free. They were like Van der Fleer is such a brilliant exponent of it. The guy's on the floor in a split second, which slows their ball down. We're back up on our feet. We get organised and we go again and push them back. They're not used to it.
The work rate was phenomenal. Like in that first 40 minutes, like I think Eddie O'Sullivan at halftime kept using the word drowning. That New Zealand are drowning. Yes. It was like quite an apt term, but it was due to the hard work. Like I remember Cian Healy. And Van der Fleer were literally, there was just non-stop. They seemed to be tackling guys up again, making the big tackles. Like that red headgear, you could see all the way through. And it was just that relentlessness, you know. And then that's not to say, of course, the other half of the game, of course, when they had the ball. And they're just, the clinical display with the ball was just phenomenal.
If you do a shorthand version of that first half, so there was the initial onslaught on the Irish try line and big hits, and we mentioned Ringrose and Van der Fleer. So 17 minutes gone, it was 3-3. 103 tackles at that stage, 17 minutes in. I remember Hugh Cal saying on the TV. First scrum wasn't until the 20th minute. Who knew that was going to become such a factor in the game? I suppose there was a moment 30 minutes gone when Bowden Barrett, who I now presume is going to just kick a drop goal every game just to shut people up. So he kicks a drop goal on 30 minutes with a penalty advantage, actually, interestingly, and kind of jogs back and smiles. I did think 30 minutes, Ireland have utterly dominated here, and this scoreboard is not behaving at all. It's 6 points apiece. I was thinking, this is great, but this is also very bad. I don't know what your sense was at that stage. Yeah,
I think again, we have to realise who we're playing against. So we're playing against the number one side in the world, and the reason the number one side in the world is they can maybe not be playing the best rugby, yet they're in the game, because that's half the game is defence. They scrambled so well and they dug deep so well, and they were in the game, you know, absolutely, and they were waiting for a moment. And they nearly had it when I think it was the spill. Rory Best spilled the ball, and they nearly went the length of the pitch. Yeah. And there was moments like that. They were always kind of worried that they were there, and that's what they were waiting for. Those little opportunities, and that's how they win matches. They win games for. There's a moment when the opposition make a mistake, and they just prey on that.
Well, there was a sense where New Zealand would score one try, surely. I mean, obviously it transpired that they didn't. But even a few minutes before that Barrett drop goal, Carney, we thought, had scored the try, and in the end he had just lost it. So there was this real sense that Ireland need to kind of get a try. This is the purple patch.
I get your concern because, you know, what was it, 103 tackles after 17 minutes? Yeah. But I think, in fairness, we'll probably, if we're ever going to beat the All Blacks, we're probably always going to have to get to that height of performance, or very close. Where my concern is with, and it sounds a bit rich now talking about concerns about the Irish team, it's just that when, if we have to play or go to that level of physical effort in many, many games, That's tricky, and I think if we can get a bit more economy in our game against weaker sides, it'll really help us. And by economy, I mean maybe scoring earlier in this set. Earlier, we score, 20 phases in, we drill teams down, and we're hugely effective, and look, we're brilliant at it. Why go away from it? It's just very physically wearing, and over a long, long period of time, I think if we can just add that tiny little bit of tiny tweak,
cutting edge,
a cutting edge that we had yesterday, and we showed we have it, and we need to play that level of physicality and effort to beat an All Blacks team, but we don't maybe need to do it to beat Scotland.
So look, say we can't do that, and we have to be that tough on ourselves a week before a New Zealand game at the World Cup, for instance. That would be a concern, and it is worth mentioning they were at Twickenham in a very tough game the week before. The fact that, the third choice, number 7, comes in and is so phenomenal. Maybe in some respects, Schmidt has made his peace with what this team can do from a cutting edge point of view and how easily they can win those kind of medium games, are we going to call them that? But actually the squad can take it, bar 3 or 4. You can't lose Murray, Sexton, a few others. I say you can't lose Murray, we just lost him, obviously. But so maybe this squad insulates the lack of cutting edge, insulates it from the cutting edge to a point.
So if you come off, okay, this New Zealand mindset, we have to have the mindset to beat New Zealand. Like you're kind of suggesting we just need to come off you can very easily say, okay, we'll come off the accelerator here now because we're playing Argentina or we're playing Scotland, and then suddenly you're in the battle. The difference is they need to maintain that mindset for New Zealand and put it to every other team, and that's how they become this absolute dominant side.
Andy's concern is it takes too much out of the Irish team physically to play like that.
That's the nature of rugby, I think, nowadays. And the nature of how they play the game. They suffocate teams.
Yes, it's pressure. It's a pressure game.
Pressure game, but pressure with possession now. We used to be. We always. When I was playing, it was all about pressure. We put pressure on the opposition, but we did that by kicking the ball. We would kick the ball down the pitch and we chase after them.
Yes.
That's how we did it. Through territory. But now they do it through possession, which is obviously, it's going to be pretty wearing.
We did show cutting edge. It's not like we didn't show. We showed cutting edge yesterday, and I think we showed it to a greater degree than the All Blacks did. And no better example was the set play for Stockdale's try.
So then explain your point to me.
My point.
You want a bit more cutting edge?
No. I just think, say, I give an example. We would have the least amount of offloads in the November series. We had 3 offloads, for example, I think 3 offloads in the third test against Australia. And when Australia played New Zealand 3 weeks later, they had 17 offloads and 18 apiece. If you play an offload game, you've less rucks, it's less wearing, the ball is in the air longer, and you score in less phases of play, and that ultimately means you're conserving energy, you're conserving physical effort. That's my only tiny criticism. You don't have to play like that to be successful. We don't always
we had a lot of offloads there against
yesterday.
There was some lovely moves. You see the play between James Ryan, Dev, and CJ Stander. That was obviously something that they've been working on. The two rowers, but you have to get the 3 guys to suddenly, on the go, talk to each other, talk the move, and then the 3 of them actually perform it. Or it's off the cuff, which I can't imagine a Joe Schmidt team that it is off the cuff. I would imagine it was well prepared. But it just that's inventive, creative rugby there between 3 forwards. Now you say New Zealand, you look at Brodie Retallick, he's great. He's great for the offload. Our boys, 3 boys, play an incredibly intricate, a little interplay straight down. He absolutely breaks the gain line, and there was a high, it was a high tackle penalty, and that was one of our 3 points.
Well, the quality of our that moment when Dev Toner hit Retallick, he stopped him in his tracks, and James Ryan came in as a double hit, and they hammered him, they smashed him back. You talk about symbolic moments, you mentioned it. I mean, to me that was huge. I think.
And it was noticeable.
They really targeted.
They chased him out the gate. They actually, Retallick had 4 or 5 1-force handling errors. He looked like he was.
Rory Best smashed him at one stage. And
so that is the point you're making when you talk about, look, the New Zealand mistakes, even though Steve Hansen has said they were nothing to do with the Irish pressure, they quite clearly were everything to do with the Irish pressure. It was this, the speed of the defensive line, the physicality of the hits, all of that, the pace on the game.
Force them to go through as many phases as they had to go through to get a gain line.
Which
like
they're
used to finding soft shoulders easier than they did against us.
So Andy Farrell has done a fantastic job.
Incredible job. And I even seen at one stage RG Sevilla I think there was a loose ball broke. He picked it up. He actually could have handled, passed it inside, which they would normally do. He just hoofed the ball because he was tired, and then he tried to chase it down himself. You rarely see an All Black who looks tanked. Like, he couldn't breathe afterwards. His lungs were bursting. Looked like the legs had gone. You don't see All Blacks in that.
He gives a lot away, though. I got to say, when I've watched him play a bit, he gives a lot away for an All Black. You know, you're right. You always get those All Blacks who are just like,
look like robots.
Yeah.
Stick in your headphones there, because given that we're talking about not conceding tries, here we have Joe Schmidt speaking after the game about holding New Zealand to no tries.
Look, you can ask Andy Farrell that. He's delighted, no doubt, because it is so seldom that the All Blacks don't score a try. But as I just explained, there were 3 potential tries that we managed to scramble on. So on any given day, they might get a couple of those, and it's all different. The other narrow margins, as I say, we almost got another couple, and Jacob Stockdale, what do you say? He got some good space down that short side, but once he controlled that chip ahead, and it was reminiscent, I thought of the Twickenham one where he went down the short side with Conor Murray and got that chip over the top to get that try, which was crucial in giving us a bit of scoreboard separation against England.
It was very reminiscent of the Twickenham try, and actually when you saw him hit the chip and go, you thought of Twickenham, and you almost had a certain faith he'll find a way to use his knee cleverly here or get this done. I mean, his finishing is absolutely outrageous. I think that's his 12th try now in either 12 or 13 test matches. I know you were saying...
I was wrong. I'll come out and say, I said a couple of weeks ago here, I was concerned that if a lot of his tries were like being, I suppose, a Gary Lineker, a striker who's been given the finish to finish.
Fox in the box.
But when there's work to do in front of him, my concern was, can he go and do that? Oh, Jesus, was I wrong? Like, you know what I mean?
What I really liked about that, right, is that about 5 minutes earlier, he dealt with a ball back to him in the backfield. He dealt with it well, kicked it up to himself and ran, and then tried to do a little chip over Kieran Reid,
and his life flashed before him.
Blocked it down, and thankfully, Kieran Reid knocks it on, and that would have been a massive. But then he gets the ball again and backs himself. Talk about a bit of confidence. A lot of guys who have gone like, well, I'm not going to chip kick this now after that. And I wouldn't mind it was Brodie Rotalick he chipped over, sort of 3 inches taller again.
A question for you, because a few people raised concerns in a good way from an Irish point of view, but concerns about the New Zealand defence, and they highlighted the Chris Ashton try last week, and you saw Mackenzie vacating the space where Ashton was going to go in, and you thought the ball was going to the other side of the pitch. It was quite striking that Stockdale is chipping into zero space. I haven't been able to watch it back fully. Did the Sexton Bundy Aki play trick them?
Sure.
It got them
Mackenzie must have been in the. You know more, but Mackenzie must have been backing himself to have to go outside the left hand winger.
Well, as a fullback, Mackenzie most likely is looking at Johnny Sexton's hips. And when Johnny Sexton's hips are facing a certain direction, or hips and shoulders, it's very unlikely the ball is going to end up entirely in the other direction. He has to do that. That's one of the great strengths of Carney as a fullback. He'll anticipate the direction of play. He catches most balls on the full. Mackenzie would be doing something similar in terms of tracking. He's going to be probably outside 50 yards, 20, 30, 40, 50 yards behind his group, but probably outside the 13 channel. Looking at Sexton, he has to anticipate
the corner flag that. He's the corner flag that bomb. Yeah,
he's to anticipate the bomb. He needs to be in position for that because of his height.
Yeah,
and I think all of those things would have been taken into account by Schmidt, by Sexton when they designed it. But the bravery of Sexton, the delay, he knew. It was Dane Coles coming off the back of the line. He knew he's about to get smashed, and he holds on, and he holds on, and he holds on. In the very, very last minute, he switches it back to Bundy. in a completely different direction. And then Bundy's pass is underrated. Bundy throws a pass probably 15 metres flat, sharp, and Stockdale is suddenly in space. And the rest is Stockdale magic. But the actual
I'm sure the idea, I don't know if the idea is then a chip and go.
I don't think it is.
I would say they've designed it, though. They've designed it for Mackenzie to be over the far side. So then they know there's space. You know, so I wouldn't be surprised if they're saying, you've got a chance to do your little chip kick.
They may well have, and again, like you said, the character he showed to go ahead and do it. It's a really ill-advised play as a back three player when you're the last person on the field to try a chip kick. It's an entirely different process when you're on the front foot and making ground to chip over a guy. But as the last guy, which he was, I doubt we'll see him do that again for Ireland. But in attack, it's an entirely different paradigm.
Good time to do it, bad time to do it.
And so Sexton delays that pass as long as possible because the more milliseconds his hips are going that way and Mackenzie thinks he's going that way, the more time he buys for his mate Stockdale. So he takes the smash.
Because Mackenzie then has to do a Yui.
Yes.
And then
he also has dragged, if you watch it back, the line-out, the New Zealand line-out he's taken so long to do it that the New Zealand line-out has all started to move in the direction to what they anticipate is the first phase of play or the next ruck. So that their line-out, the integrity of that line-out black jersey starts to break up right where we're going to attack.
With your number 10 hat on, compare Sexton and Barrett in the context of the World Player of the Year awards.
I suppose, I think at times looking at Barrett yesterday, he looks like he walks on water when he's playing rugby.
Yeah, there's something magical about him.
He's
speed, his ability, how he carries himself, his posture, everything. You know, like
he glides. He seems to glide around the field. He put in. I mean,
skill levels.
A simple example would be that the question seemed to pop up its head that he's never got a drop goal before, and it's just like he said, well. Screw you, I'll just get two.
Never needed it before.
I don't know if you saw on the big screen, I know you were both there, I was watching at home. Like, he's laughing, jogging back from
that. He is. He's just saying.
But you love that, I like to see that. I like to see guys enjoying themselves on the pitch, because that's why you should be playing the game.
Did they show them on the big screen at half time when they came out for the second half and they're in a circle? They were all just smiling.
Have you ever seen Kieran Reid? Kieran Reid will always...
Kieran Reid is smiling.
Yeah.
You don't know whether he's gracious or he wants to kill you.
The same with Keith Wood will always do that with us. He'd always go around joking with you before a match. Just trying to keep everyone upbeat. Because some guys can get caught in their own head.
I just thought it was an extraordinary thing because they would have known they're in a real game. There was almost a sense of let's let everyone know that we relish this. Aaron Smith was sort of smiling as well. They didn't have much to be smiling about.
No.
And I just presumed it was a very outward display to send a message out there, or maybe there's some kind of physiological thing where if you smile, you feel better for smiling. Who knows why they're doing it?
But do you not?
Well, no, you do. You do. Like if you're not in great form, just smile for 5 minutes and you will feel better. But I just thought it was this very striking thing. The second half happening that they were all doing
Kieran Reid always. That's his. Before every match, you looked at him. He left the guys around. They're obviously like, this is what we want to be doing. This is where we are. This is what all of us want to be doing. And here we are representing our country. Something like that.
Yeah. So does Sexton then, on the basis of yesterday, nudge himself in front of Barrett for the World Player of the Year? Has that vote already happened? Or where are we?
I think Johnny deserves it. I was going to say, you can't really talk about Barrett in any other way with just superlatives.
Yeah.
And with Sexton's, the amount, I suppose, how impactful he's been in the last 12 months. In every game he's played, like he's launched a ship to win Europe, the Pro 14. We're Grand Slam champions. We won a series in Australia. We've beaten the All Blacks, and he's been completely and utterly at the central core.
But he's the quarterback.
Starting with the drop goal in France,
a Lions tour before that as well.
And starting probably with that drop goal in France, in terms of seminal moments in Irish rugby history, that's got to be one of them that's right up there. Had we lost that French game, it's an entirely different
he hit the drop goal, but he also controlled that whole phase, series of phases leading up to that. There was he has been absolutely driving that Irish team, and not just not just on the pitch, off the pitch, and his impact.
Fist pump from the tackle with 4 minutes.
Like
I actually got worried because I was like, we can't do it, you know.
But Bowden Barrett is a phenomenal player.
Yeah.
But Johnny brings more. Like, he brings more in terms of his direction, of his control, of his leadership. I don't think Bowden Barrett is the leader that Johnny is.
But I think there are strengths and weaknesses to that, in that our reliance then on a guy who plays like that.
Yeah, but if you're going to give him the World Player of the Year, that's why you give him World Player of the Year.
No, I agree, but I think the All Blacks don't. They dilute responsibility a bit more across the group. Typically, I think they've done that as a cultural choice. They tend not to have 10s like Northern Hemisphere 10s. They got rid of that, I think, probably 15, 20 years ago, and they tend, even with Carter wasn't as demonstrative as Johnny ever is, or as Johnny Wilkinson would be, for example. It's a different style of 10 that they play down there, you know. But I think that's no.
Well, I just don't think you could get many guys like Johnny. No, I don't think you're going to get Joey Carber. You're going to go, okay, this is the template you have to become, and here's the mindset that you have to have, and there you go. No, we want you to direct.
No way. No,
he's not. There's only one Johnny Sexton.
I agree.
Yeah.
We're going to take a short break. As you can hear, we've Andy Dunne and Malcolm O'Kelly here. We'll play you some of what Steve Hansen had to say about Ireland being the #1 team in the world. There's loads more in this game to get the lads' thoughts on. So 53106 is the text number if you want to text in, or you'll get us at Off The Ball on Twitter as well if you want to put something to Mal or Andy.
Off the Ball on News Talk. Future Proof.
On Future Proof, we're all about science. We're about facts. We're about getting things right. We were talking about immunisation. Why were we talking about immunisation? Anyway, we were. And we got a text in.
We weren't talking about immunisation.
Oh, we weren't.
This is just one of our random texts.
On the new and improved Future Proof podcast, not so much so. Check out the new Future Proof podcast on newstalk.com or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.
Future Proof.
Proudly supported by Science Foundation Ireland.
On News Talk.
Anyway.
There's only one phrase that comes to mind when you first see the all-new Lexus ES. Bold elegance. The phrase perfectly captures what this luxury saloon represents. Brave design meets supreme comfort, powered by our self-charging hybrid and enhanced by cutting-edge Lexus Safety System Plus, making the ES ready for the future. You see? Bold elegance. Preview the all-new ES at lexus.ie or your Lexus retailer. Lexus. Experience amazing.
At Lidl, we listen to your feedback, and we've introduced over 300 new products to our range this year. Like Brennan's Bread, only $1.50. Cadbury's Dairy Milk Chocolate, just $1.29. And Colgate Toothpaste, an amazing $1.39. Lidl, more for you.
Tenerte como socio sería fantástico para nuestro equipo.
Tim has now been video calling on his mobile with his potential new business partners in Madrid for 45 minutes and 37 seconds. Luckily, time on his phone isn't a concern for Tim. With 3's €20 SIM-only business plan, he gets all calls, all texts, and all you can eat data. So he can just keep nodding while he Google translates what on earth they're saying. Switch today at your local 3 store or visit 3.ie/business. 3. Make it count. €20 a month for the first 6 months, €30 a month thereafter. 30-day minimum term. Fair usage allowance applies to data used in the EU. See 3.ie.
Ever wondered where standards come from? If you're involved in innovation, you probably have. And the simple answer is, they're developed by people like you. NSAI is the National Standards Authority of Ireland. When we're developing a new standard or updating an existing one, your expertise is invaluable. So you can help influence the direction of your industry and be among the first to hear about new developments. If you'd like to participate, visit nsai.ie today or call 01 807 3800. That's 01 807 3800.
The wait is over. The shopping event of the year is here. Get Black Friday discounts today, like the Candy ceramic hob for just €184, saving you over 10%. Or get the Siemens induction hob for just €324, saving you €285. And at Harvey Norman, we've matched all competitors' Black Friday prices, so no need to shop around. Don't wait until Black Friday. Now's the time to buy, in store or online. Harvey Norman Black Friday sale.
Football Index is reinventing football betting. You can buy and sell the world's top players. Their value may go up and down, but it's not over with the final whistle like a regular bet. Football Index, reinventing football betting.
Start building your portfolio today at footballindex.co.uk or download the app now. New customers only, minimum deposit and conditions apply. Gamble responsibly.
Thanks to Mitsubishi Motors, you'll find out how much shopping fits in your new family SUV. Because you'll get a €500 Dunstore shopping voucher when you pre-order your 191 SUV before December 17th. And there's a model for every family. Choose from the 5 or 7-seat Outlander, the compact ASX, the stylish Eclipse Cross, or the Outlander plug-in hybrid. So talk to your local Mitsubishi dealer today. Terms and conditions apply.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Welcome back. We have Malcolm O'Kelly and Andy Dunne here in studio. So just finishing up on a point we're kind of segueing towards, I suspect, about how we view the next 12 months now. You were both there in the stadium, and it certainly felt, watching on television, like home advantage was a really big factor yesterday. The crowd were just so involved. Every play, there was a kind of a concentration you could almost feel emanating from the crowd. Every box kick, every breakdown. That must be a factor when you're on the pitch, and obviously we're not going to have that potentially at a World Cup at a neutral venue. So is that the next step almost, and how much of a bridge is that to navigate?
Well, I definitely think you're absolutely spot on with the Aviva, and especially yesterday. It was electric. And even from the first, I can remember the haka, Ireland took one step forward as a group, and the whole place just went.
The bomb went off.
It was a surge.
Well, I think the crowd were like, are they going to take another step?
Here's Willie Anderson. Willie Anderson the second. So absolutely, and I think an Irish team in November is at its strongest. And undoubtedly the Southern Hemisphere teams coming up are probably at their weakest. And you could say, well, it was a tired display or whatever, but still Ireland have been playing that brand of rugby throughout the whole year in terms of that possession game, and they're just getting better and better and better at it. And for me, it looks like Ireland have a few things to work on and can still actually get better.
Anything in particular?
Well, I think they'll look at it themselves and they'll see some clinical mistakes. As I mentioned earlier, the maul and a couple of lineouts, and the transition period when Devon went off and the two boys came on, dealing with that better. So there's lots of that they'll work on. So as far as it was a brilliant display. We were probably at our best in terms of our energy, and New Zealand probably at lowest in terms of their energy.
And that energy, those energy levels, like I was at the game with a mate of mine, David Malone, Molly Malone from Balbriggan, and he's a staunch football man. He said if rugby was on in his back garden, typically he wouldn't have gone and looked at it. But he went to this game yesterday, and he goes to all the Republic now. Yeah, he was, and in fairness, his comparison currently is with the Irish soccer team, which is pretty dreary stuff to watch. He said he's never experienced the stadium like it yesterday. It's his first game of rugby. He doesn't understand the rules. And what we're doing as a nation in rugby, it's just incredible to watch. And that home advantage you're talking about, Joe, that happened yesterday, which won't be there in 12 months. It is, I suppose, it definitely it had a significant impact on, I think, ourselves and our energy levels, and also on the All Blacks, which probably not going to be there in Yokohama.
It's difficult to know how many points it's worth, is the thing. I mean, is it worth 3 points, 4 points? I mean, how do you know? On the haka, stick in your headphones again, because I'm not sure who dreamt it up or who thought up the idea to take one step forward, that symbolic one step without things getting overheated. Here's, the rather brilliant Josh van der Fleer talking about that step forward during the haka.
Josh, what's the logic with the haka at the start? You guys all taking a step towards it. Where did that come from, or what was the logic of you guys all taking that step towards New Zealand?
I think it was just, I suppose it kind of represented us. We weren't going to take a backward step the whole game. That was kind of what we were, what Bestie kind of said to us. We want to go after them, not step away, not accept being bullied by them or anything like that. So I think that was part of it, and then I suppose it's a pretty special moment when you're all together as a team watching something quite historic like the haka, so it's quite cool.
It is noteworthy in the 2 times Ireland have beaten them. There was the Anthony Foley 8 tribute in Chicago, and then this step forward, there was something going on. Obviously, many a team has tried something and then it's looked very foolish 20 minutes later.
Yeah.
But there was an apt symbolism there. Hearing a few whispers in the camp that 2 years ago, the Dublin game post-Chicago and the physicality that New Zealand meted out there has not sat well with the group. It's been discussed. And maybe we saw that manifest itself yesterday. We're not being bullied again was the statement right from the start.
Well, we actually completely reversed it. I thought we physically bullied them.
Yeah.
It was really great to watch as well, as an Irishman, to watch someone like Retallick getting hammered repeatedly in tackles and winning collisions against guys that we'd probably normally have at best a neutral result. We'd certainly put them down because we're a good defensive side, but we're winning those collisions yesterday. That was, I thought there was probably a latent anger from that Dublin game 2 years ago, and rightly so, because they really were on the line, if not across it, on a number of occasions. And I think that's what winners do, though. Winners hold on to grudges and wait in the long grass, and then when their chance comes, they go for the kill. And we never took our foot off their neck.
So Ireland won that side of things. There was still a penalty count, which was quite significant. So Ireland conceded 5 penalties, up 1 from the 4 in Chicago, and then New Zealand 11 penalties. And of all the statistics, that really, aside from 1 try to 0, is the only one where there's a big gap. Like, it's quite extraordinary. 156 tackles Ireland, 157 tackles New Zealand. 20 missed tackles Ireland, 20 missed tackles New Zealand.
Wow.
Clean breaks, 5 Ireland, 5 New Zealand. Metres gained, 362 Ireland, 368 New Zealand. So this thing was on a knife edge in every way. The real big gap is penalty count, actually. Should Wayne Barnes have brought out his yellow card before half-time?
So Matt Williams' brought a stat out on Twitter. I actually asked him, was it true? Because I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, so in 2014,
the average
jotted down.
Yeah, you've got it there.
Yeah. So 2014, Australia conceded 11 penalties before getting a yellow card. South Africa conceded 12 penalties before getting a yellow card.
This is their average amount of penalties per yellow card.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whereas New Zealand, before a yellow card was given, would have to concede 43.
Really?
Yeah.
Before a yellow card was given.
Yeah, but saying that though, I like the way Wayne Barnes, like, the whole game is on a knife edge, you know, and to sin bin someone for 10 minutes could have, you know, a try or two scored on one or the other side could have ruined the match. I love the way it was on a knife edge. As a spectacle, yeah.
Should he be worried about a spectacle, though?
Yeah,
is it his job to think to himself, this is a cracking game, and actually, if I
know, but he can be over like that. To sin bin a guy is you know,
I kind of agree with you reluctantly. He did.
It's a big influence, you know.
Should Rob Kearney have been sin binned?
For what was he?
The high mid-air collision.
Mackenzie was up in the air. And
it was so close, isn't it?
It was Ione who went up in the air. I thought Ione did well to get back.
You see, there's those small margins, you know, that can completely devastate a game. That's why I'm a little bit anti. And as well, you know, what was really irritating me, one of the few things that irritated me in the match was the crowd going mental every time they saw a high tackle. Like the boos and the hisses. And then they'd stop, and then the minute the ref, it's a bash, we're getting on with it. And they just, it's kind of like it's part of, like, I just think that's a bad, I hate the thought of the crowd influencing the ref, you know.
Welcome to professional sport, Mal. I hate to break it to you.
I know.
Very soft.
Yeah. Can we all just be friends? Says Mal.
Well, I just want to see the two teams play, you know, and battle it out.
No one wants a referee to decide a game. However, because Wayne Barnes did have to go to Rory Best after he'd spoken to Kieran Reid, and he did reassure Best, look, I've spoken to them. And Best wants to go back and say, yeah, but like how many times? I mean, we can't just keep it. And he says, look, I've spoken to them. And Ireland never quite got as close to a try again. So you're looking at it and you're thinking, if you're a New Zealand fan or in the team, you're thinking that was beautifully cynical. We've given just away, and we've just reached the threshold of what we can get away with here.
That's a scandalous statistic. It's an absolutely scandalous statistic.
Yeah.
That they get 43 penalties on average before they get a yellow card.
In that year, I suspect it's come down.
In that year, but like it goes to show that there's obviously, I suppose, perception and there's reality, and there's perceptions from referees that they're reffing the All Blacks the same as everyone else, and they aren't. I've never seen a stat like it. There's no way they should be allowed 30 more penalties than everyone else in the world. You know, they do live on the edge, but it ought to be policed. It can't just be accepted.
They gave some silly penalties away, and we got a lot of territory off it, and we got ourselves some kicks. So we were 3-6, and now be fair, we gave back a penalty or two, but generally we got ourselves some good territory off the back of their ill discipline.
Yeah. What have we learned about the scrum, the line out, the Irish set piece generally? Dev Toner got a standing ovation to end all standing ovations. He's had a great week. You know, people have really come to appreciate what he's doing.
Yeah.
Nobody predicted the Irish would dominate the scrum to that extent either.
Yeah, exactly. They're very strong. In line out, you know, when you're working with a hooker, you know, you learn about each other. Every hooker is different, and you know, has different intricacies and different style of throws, and you get to learn. And obviously, Dev and Rory have built that relationship. And Dev's knowledge of lineouts, you know, he's the most experienced guy there, and it shows how important that is. And they were phenomenal together. And like it helps being 6'10" and have an extra couple of inches, because that New Zealand lineout were so aggressive, and they were really battling for everything.
The Irish lineout creaked as soon as Dev went off.
Yeah, they had, like, even with Dev on one or two, the New Zealanders got to it. Like, I remember when it was about 20 minutes to go, and we were right on their line, and we give away, and that could have been the moment where we would have sealed the match. Like a maul there, and we'd have gone over.
But fair to say, Dev, I mean, you're asking yourself as a line-out tactician, did Dev throw to get the ball thrown to O'Mahony more often than himself on purpose? Do you think that was just, you know?
Yeah, well, I think he was either. You see, I suppose without giving away Rory's skill and technique, the key to Dev is getting up in front of the guy. So he's got to be able to either, his movement, get up in the air, and Rory has the ball in before they can get up.
What do you mean?
Too much movement on the ground.
And
try to go behind the player, and then you're going to be in trouble.
What do you mean not giving away Rory's?
Well, Rory's a certain style of throw.
Go on.
You know, I won't. No, I won't.
This is common knowledge.
Well, all you have to do is watch the tapes.
Okay, well then you watch the tape, and now give me a sense. You don't have to give away everything, but just give me a clue.
Well,
what are you talking about?
It's very direct. Let's say. Whereas
there's not much of an arc on it.
There's not much of an arc or any of that kind of thing. But he does. But the brilliant thing about it is that he doesn't have a what you call it, any movement in his arms. So he holds that ball straight above his head.
Yeah.
So if you're a jumper and you're defending, you can't watch him. It's pointless watching him because the ball is in. So you have to completely rely on watching the jumper. The jumper will always beat you. There's no trigger. Whereas if you were watching a hooker, say like a Shane Byrne would have a big wind up and let go. So you'd know when you knew you have a second or two to get up in the air.
You could almost judge the rhythm of Byrne's throw.
Yeah,
whereas
exactly.
Best doesn't have that same rhythm.
It's just the ball's in.
Okay.
You know, like it's almost like just finger. Like he uses his fingers to throw the ball.
No, that wasn't that hard, was it?
No, it wasn't. No. Sorry, Rory, if I've given that away.
I don't think you've given too much away at all. I'm sure they're doing unbelievable study online these days anyway. Toner, the big game. The scrum was fairly phenomenal as well. Tyg Furlong was getting a lot of credit. It's hard to know who's doing what in a scrum, but we certainly knew that Ireland dominated there.
Yeah, well, they were under a lot of, like, New Zealanders were, the loose head, I couldn't pronounce his name now, but he was really trying to have a cut at Tyg. But I think it also helped that Cian was, really digging deep as well, and there was no movement on the tight head side. So any movement that came from the loose head, it was perceived that New Zealand were almost turning around because the weight was coming through the loose head. But Ty kept his body position really low, and you might have popped up a couple of times.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of the times is that loose head will get under and lift out the tight head as well. But Ty was able to keep his body position, and the New Zealander got knocked up, and then the secondary push came through Ireland, and we got some great movement out of it. Yeah.
Stick in your headphones again. Here's Steve Hansen, and he's talking about Ireland being the #1 team in the world here.
Well, you'll make them favourites, so if you want to make them favourites, go ahead. What it does do, I think, and I said this at the beginning of the week, you had the two best sides in the world playing each other, so as of now, they're the #1 team in the world. So I guess they are favourites. I'll ask you, how do you reckon they'll be? Doing the jig? Like, obviously they're disappointed. You know, like you don't win as many rugby matches as this All Black team has, and then when you get beaten it hurts, regardless of who you play and how well the opposition have played. And so, you know, the simple answer is that it's very quiet, sombre. People are gutted, and that's the way it should be. It's how you should feel when you get beaten, when you want to win. So yeah, I think it's pretty obvious.
I mean, if ever a team are going to hold a grudge, you talked earlier about teams holding grudges and winners holding grudges. They'll be holding a grudge right through until their next crack at Ireland, which is a worry from our point of view for sure. I mean, do you go as far to say Ireland are the best team in the world now, or is there a sense that actually one game doesn't quite change that?
I don't know. Well, I suppose from my own side, I don't know if that really matters in terms of them. The goal should be for them to win a World Cup, Ireland to win a World Cup. That's their goal.
Realistically,
right?
That is the goal now.
Does it really matter if you're going in as number one or number two?
No.
But what it does do for New Zealand is it gives New Zealand a barometer of where we are. The threats are there. Like that's our threat. And to have played such a tight match like that, they'll know, well, this is what we need to be doing. They might look at Ireland and say, look at what these guys are actually doing. We need to develop our game. And that group of lads, you just know they've got all the skills to replicate a lot of it or to develop it and create their own version. But what Ireland are doing is certainly there's no other team in the world that are doing what they're doing to that level of skill.
If Ireland win their next 3 games, they do actually become the official number 1 team in the world, which would be an amazing thing and another achievement in the list of great achievements. Whether it matters, whether they're favourites or not for a World Cup, probably doesn't matter hugely, Andy. I mean, does it change things for you? Do you still hold New Zealand as on balance at a neutral venue? Teams playing against each other maybe 10 times, who might come out on top over the 10 times? Do you still have New Zealand as the best team in the world?
I think by a tiny margin, yes.
Yeah.
And as a hypothesis, it's an interesting thing. If Ireland were to play them 10 times in a row, I reckon it wouldn't be far off 5 apiece at the moment. 5 wins apiece. I think we can go and repeat.
If we had to go down to Auckland now, maybe it might be a struggle.
Well, let's assume on these 10 hypothetical games, there's 5 home and 5 away. So I think, I do think, and I think they deserve to be still considered the best team in the world. Their winning percentage since time began is over 80%, which is outrageous across sport in general. And I think we're without doubt the second best team in the world, and we can start to have a very legitimate conversation that potentially could be the best in the world. But I think we're clearly second. There's a distance between us and South Africa, Australia, France, and England.
A few texts and tweets before we wrap this up very shortly. So somebody here is wondering about Marmion. Thought McGrath was better again when he came on, and I did notice. I mean, we were doing the paper review earlier on, and Marmion by the Sunday Times this morning. He's a great write-up, an entire piece dedicated to him. And Joe Schmidt has talked about how brilliant he was. Neil Francis was watching it and said, I do not wish to strike a mean blow after such a magnificent team performance, but I can't understand why Marmion was picked to start. Box kicking, passing, just not at this level. Where are you guys on Marmion?
Well, I half agree with Frano. I think his box kicking was poor. I don't think his passing was particularly poor at all. I think that's a slightly loose comment. But his box kicking, you talked about some technical things about Rory Best's throw and there's an arc. You want the ball in the air for about 4 seconds off a box kick. He's getting nowhere near that height and hang time on those kicks. He's kicking too shallow, and he's also kicking from the extremities centrally, which is hugely dangerous. He's going infield. I don't think he's doing that by design. I think technically he's just under pressure.
It's certainly a weapon of ours that hasn't functioned.
Yeah, I don't understand why, with a guy as good as Johnny is, as a punting, why we are maintaining this box kicking strategy in our 22, which goes 20 yards and gives them the ball back, instead of passing it back to Johnny, who launches at 60 yards, and they have the ball 40 metres further down their own field. I don't get it.
But the idea, of course, is to get the ball back. That's why we do it.
Yeah,
that's what we're doing it. But like it's a weapon that hasn't really worked, and as you say, probably due to the fact that Marmion is just not getting that kind of consistency.
It's not his strength, but he has many others. Like there, he was excellent in terms of his overall contribution, but that's not a strength at the moment, and that was potentially a damaging weakness against the All Blacks yesterday that we got away with.
Do you accept Mal's point that it's kicking a contestable? That's what they're doing in their own 22.
I don't see the sense in it though. I don't see the sense in kicking the ball 10 metres further. giving up possession with a hope to get it back, which is at best 50-50, 10 metres further away from your try line. I'd rather go 50 metres away from my try line, just give them the ball back and trust their good defence.
Phil McCullough on Twitter, can you ask the lads, we're here with Malcolm O'Kelly and Andy Dunne, final minute or two, if everyone's fit, who starts in the back row? Three lads yesterday absolutely standing. There's a great shot of when the full-time whistle goes and the bench all stand up, and Peter O'Mahony is on the bench and is mid-standing up, and then his face goes into agony as he realises I can't stand up and falls back down.
Like he at once he's some damaged hip. The rest, oh no, O'Mahony's down. His hip is something wrong with it. And then about 10 minutes later, he does this remarkable turnaround, sprints back and catches. And the bouncing ball, it took it out of Ben Smith's hands. It was like,
it was an amazing
where does he get the energy
from? A 5-minute period where I think there were 2 turnovers and the interception, and his face was looking more pained by the second.
And he got a standing ovation coming off too.
Yeah. I think everyone did, actually, the more we think about it. So you're putting O'Mahony in.
Yes.
Stander got through a lot of work. Is Stander in?
Stander was phenomenal yesterday.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, like just his, as you say, his pure work rate. Just his moments, like in the game, must be incredible.
And we have our third choice, number 7, phenomenal as well. After our second choice, number 7, Dan Levy was phenomenal the week before.
Just his engine.
Yeah,
like he's a vital cog, I think, in that back row as well. You know.
Does it matter really if O'Brien or Levy or Van der Fleer plays? Is it going to be a horses for courses choice? Different games, suit different one of them, or is there a clear winner?
I think the key is who's fit and available. And I'm sorry, his question is like, where everybody's fit.
Everyone's fit, yeah.
But like, that never happens.
I know, Bundyaki is actually starting to make that point. You know, can you stop talking about Ringrose and Henshaw? I'm the only one who turns up every week.
Yeah, but it's all about who's there, you know?
I mean, you'd have to assume the odds of all our back rows, especially those 3 number 7s, all being fit across a full World Cup is next to none because it's so attritional.
Yeah,
so you need all 3 of them.
Geordie Murphy.
Who came on and he was in Chicago. I mean, Schmidt really respects and trusts Geordie Murphy is the point, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I noticed their selection early in the week when Levy was still in to start at this stage. I was surprised. There was the one thing that kind of struck me was he had Levy to start and Van der Fleer on the bench, but he didn't have a recognised out-and-out number 8 replacement had CJ got injured. So, for example, if CJ rolled his ankle after 2 minutes, who would have gone into number 8? Now, we got away with that because Van der Fleer came in to start and Murphy comes onto the bench. But the original selection I was surprised by, because you would have had O'Mahony maybe to go into number 8. So I think as a construct,
the other problem in that force is what happened was when O'Mahony went off, Geordie Murphy came on, and they lost the line-out option, and hence like the line-out fell apart to a degree, and then with Henderson and Dev coming on. So you, in terms of their statuesque back, the back row is quite short, except for O'Mahony. You know, so you know, consideration. Yeah, like you've got some units there like Rhys Ruddock and Jack Conan.
Yeah, jeez, Rhys Ruddock. Brilliant so far as well for Leinster. An hour has absolutely flown by, gents. Thanks so much for coming in. Was there any last point anyone wanted to make as they were driving in here?
I thought we talked about symbolic moments.
Yes.
Like on the back of some, you could say, scurrilous comments from Ian Foster during the week, Bundyaki pointing his big brown Irish arms up to the heavens at the end, having smashed Ritalik, and Ritalik knocks on. I just thought it was an incredible moment in Irish rugby, just to see it, to see the commitment he had, and fair play to him, because I think the remarks that were made weren't fair, coming from anyone, and let alone coming from All Blacks who picked Pacific Islanders and pillaged them for the last 20 years.
No,
so to have a guy come in and represent Ireland and a new type of Ireland, and the joy he brought to the stadium in that moment, it was brilliant.
I think we can all have issues with
of it all.
We can all have issues with the residency rule in rugby for sure, but it shouldn't be personalised the week of a game.
No.
It shouldn't be about one person. It's
Absolutely
rugby's
not.
problem if it's a problem. So fair point. Andy Dunne, thanks for coming in. Mal, always a pleasure. Thank you for coming in. We'll take a short break. We're talking about On the Seventh Day, which is a Sunday Independent collection, 30 years of the best sports writing from the Sunday Indo over the last 30 years. So John Queen and Paul Kimmage are going to pop into the studio in just a moment. Thanks again, lads.
Join the conversation. Text us on 53106. Texts cost 30 cents.
5 years warranty. 5 years